Hello guys, welcome back to Dharma Geosphere. Today we'll interact on another very interesting and an important concept in the evolution of geographic thought, that is positivism. Simply put, positivism is philosophy of science of predicting the future, say for example, by analyzing the present. In more clearer terms, positivism is a set of approaches aiming at the application of scientific principles and methods drawn from the natural sciences to social sciences. It is not that positivism just came about in the late 50s or early 60s. It was there right from the Greco-Roman times in different forms and different versions, but it was not so much of in impact as the way it made impact thanks to the contribution of Auguste Comte. So this Auguste Comte basically introduced or propounded or postulated the concept of positivism as we see today, and according to him, the positivism focused on facts and truth, empirically observable, but not through speculation, and also the objective collection of data through well-known methods of collection, through methods of observation. And also it focused on the truths that actually can be tested, and evidence-based truth, and also laws that could predict the human behavior. So all these were the main focuses of the Auguste Comte concept of positivism. So there were some assumptions taken for the way the positivism developed in geography. Few of the assumptions are that the behavior is a natural detection, and the human part of the human form part of the natural world, and nature is also kind of regulated, and the objective phenomena which are observable are also knowable, and then there is nothing that is so self-evident. And then another assumption is truth is relative, and also knowledge actually comes from varied experience. So these are the about 7 assumptions taken to determine positivism, and based on this some principles have been drawn for understanding positivism, that is logic of inquiry involves and is applicable to all the branches of geography. And then the second one is the goal of inquiry can be explained through discovery, etc. And then more importantly, one of the main principles of the positivism was the research should be based on the observations, empirical observations through the human senses, and that science is also not just a common sense, and then science should be judged by logic, and it should be free of values. So these were the broad principles based on which the Auguste Comte's positivism was developed. Based on this, he formulated that the law of 3 stages of the evolution of positivism according to Auguste Comte, where one is theological, the other is metaphysical, the other is positive, or what we also call as scientific. So in the theological, he said all have a soul, because the soul which is superior, or which has power that is above the humans, that is some kind of a supernatural power. Say, like for example, Hindus pray the sun god during the Chat festival in West Bengal. So here they see the sun god as a supernatural or a power above the human beings, that is, which also is above the soul of the human being. So that is how he determined the theological stage. The other stage is the metaphysical stage. It is a slight modification of the first theological stage, wherein the supernatural is replaced by an abstract kind of a thing, like, in Bali, Indonesia, they wrap a cloth around the trunk of a tree, believing that the contents of the tree have something to do with their soul, and that's how they firmly believe and take up this as a regular ritual. And the third, that is the scientific or the positivist approaches that we have already told. I've given you the definition, I've given you the assumptions and principles, but here is what the positivism can say. For example, predict the weather, or can say if you take India an example, you can predict the onset of monsoon, so that the agricultural policy, the farming techniques, the cropping patterns, etc. can be scientifically managed if you know when the precipitation or the rain is going to come. So this is nothing but an example of positivism using scientific methods to predict. So that is how it is. And then of course there's bound to be criticism, because when you talk in terms of abstract values and all that, there is comment. So we will discuss some points of criticism of positivism as well. So I'll show you some slides. I hope you're all studying well and continue this tempo. We will soon finish this part of the geography, which is very important and which is very square. So stay tuned and let's look at the slides. So let us go a bit of details on positivism. So as I said, positivism is nothing but philosophy of science. For example, one can predict future by analyzing the present. Auguste Comte postulated positivism, which focus on facts and truths that are empirically observable rather than on speculation. And the objective data collection through common known methods of observation, and the formulation of theories that can be tested, that is evidence-based testing, and then development of laws that can explain and also predict the human behavior. So these are the assumptions. All behavior is naturally determined. Humans are part of the natural world. Nature is orderly and regular. All objective phenomena are eventually knowable. Nothing is self-evident, and truth is relative. Knowledge comes from the experience. And based on these assumptions, some principles have also been focused. There are 5 principles of positivism. The first is the logic of inquiry is identical across all the branches of science, and the goal of inquiry is to explain, predict, and discover. Research should be observed empirically with human senses, and science is not the same as common sense, and science should be judged by logic and remain free of values. So Comte used the term in 2 distinctive ways. Comte used it in 2 distinctive ways. One is positivism as doctrine. The only true knowledge is scientific knowledge, and positivism as a method, that is a law of successive states through which each branch of knowledge must pass first. So in his course de philosophy positive, Comte explains how societies evolve in accordance with the natural law. The three stages discussed are the theological, the metaphysical, and the scientific are the positive. So based on the fundamental law of development, quote unquote, he says, I believe that I have discovered a great fundamental law to which the mind is subjected by an invariable necessity. This law consists in the fact that each of our principal conceptions, each branch of our knowledge, passes in succession through three different theoretical states: the theological or the fictitious state, the metaphysical or the abstract state, and the scientific or the positive state. In other words, the human mind by its very nature makes use successively in each of the researchers of these three methods of philosophizing, whose characters are essentially different and even radically opposed to each other. So the law of three stages we will see one by one. This is the theological stage, the level of human thought that all things in the world have a soul, and that is caused by a power that is above the human's mind, directs its researchers mainly towards the inner nature of beings and toward the first and final causes of all the phenomena which it observes. In a word, toward absolute knowledge. So, for example, the Hindu people do the ritual worship of the sun god at the Chhat festival in the Ganga river in Calcutta, India. This is the supernatural power above the soul, and then they try to reach and pray that. See, the metaphysical, this is a slight modification of the first state. Here, instead of the supernatural agent, it is replaced by abstract forces, like I have told you. Bali in Indonesia, the local population believe that a large tree is given in cloth, so the aim is to honor the gods or the contents of the tree. So they believe in the tree, there are gods or contents, so they respect by giving offerings on the tree, by wrapping a cloth around it and then giving some offerings. And then the scientific or the positive, the subject matter of our lecture today. This is the final stage where the human mind, recognizing the impossibility of obtaining absolute truth, gives up the search after the origin and the destination of the universe were known, and the knowledge of the final causes of the phenomena have come to focus. So it only endeavors now to discover, by a well combined use of reasoning and observation, so the actual laws of phenomena, that is to say, their invariable relations of succession and likeness. Say, for example, as I said, we can predict weather. The purpose is to obtain information about the changes in the future which will affect the implementation of this policy and its consequences. So, like any other concept, positivism is also beset with some demerits, and there has been some criticism. One of the criticism which has received is the attacking not only its epistemological and ontological basis, but also claims that it has been responsible for many social problems, is something which is not acceptable at that point of time. And its critics have also contested the very mechanical view of science that logical positivism is thought to promote, where interpretation, values, ethics, and expression of uncertainty and ambiguity have no place. The idea that knowledge is objective and value-free has also been defeated on both the theoretical and the empirical grounds. So that is all as far as the positivism is concerned. I have covered the main points. Try to remember the concept. If you get a short note, or it could be even a medium type or a long type of answer, you have all the points with you. Please go through this repeatedly and try to remember the main points. It's very easy. I have structured it also systematically so that you can easily retain it in your mind and recall. So that's all for this lecture, guys. We'll catch up with the next chapter in the geographical thought. Stay good, stay well, stay healthy, stay very positive. After the positivist lecture, stay very positive I'm sure you'll all be in Lavasana, those who are writing the mains exam this time. I'll come and meet you all there. Just focus a little bit more on the geography optional, because that will give you the better rank and you will be in the IAS. So stay focused, study well, and bye.